Hello and welcome to this video on inequalities. In this video we're going to be looking at three things, being able to identify inequalities from a number line, being able to write a list of integers, so keyword there integer means whole number, and then we're going to look at solving inequalities. So first of all, well, what are inequalities? So inequalities are the relationship between two expressions which are not equal to one another. So when something's equal, we always use that equal symbol, but we have some different symbols that we use for inequalities, which you can see on screen. We'll go over what those all mean in a second. So here we've got an example of them with number lines. So we've got less than here. So if you've got a little arrow pointing left, that means less than. If it's going right, it means greater than. If it's an arrow pointing left with a line underneath, that means less than or equal to. If it's an arrow pointing right, it means greater than or equal to. So on these examples here, we've got this shown on a number line. So we've got x is less than 2 here, and x is greater than 2 here. And you've got this little dot shaded in on the bottom one just here, which shows that this could be equal to 2, but also less than 2. And on the right hand side here, we've got again a shaded dot going to the right, which shows that x could be greater than or equal to 2. So just a quick little recap on these symbols then. We've got less than there, so that means x is less than 4. Then we've got greater than there, so that particular example means x is greater than 6. Then we've got less than or equal to, so that means in this particular example that x could be 9, but it could also be less than 9. Then we've got greater than or equal to. So in this example, x could be 10, but it could also be greater than 10. Okay, so here we've got what's known as a double inequality. So the line between these 2 points here satisfies both inequalities. So a double inequality must be created. So putting x in the middle of 2 inequalities gives you this with the particular example shown on the number line. So we've got an x in the middle, and what this tells us is that x is somewhere between -5 and 4, but that it could also be -5. You can see here you've got the little line underneath the arrow, so this is indicating that x could possibly be -5. But it's definitely not -4. So because there's no line underneath our inequality here, it's definitely less than -4. So what this essentially means is that x is greater than or equal to 5. So it's got to be greater than or equal to -5, sorry. So it's definitely -5 or larger, but it's also less than 4. And when you write these inequalities, these double inequalities, the arrows will always point to the left on these. That's really important when you write these. So now we're going to have a look at some examples of this then in terms of number lines and looking at the list of integers based on these number lines. So I'd like you to write down what you think the inequality is represented on this number line. Okay, and here is your answer to this one then. So all this is showing you is that x is greater than or equal to -2, and that is indicated, the equal to bit is indicated by the dot that's shaded in here, and the fact that our arrow is pointing only in one direction to the right shows it could potentially be bigger than, greater than -2 as well. So here's your next one. So to start off with then, we've got our double inequality here, and we've got to have that equal to symbol here. So this is showing you that -1 is less than or equal to x, or that x is greater than or equal to -1. And then we can clearly see here that x is definitely less than 4 because we've not got this dot shaded in. And the whole numbers that satisfy this inequality are listed below. So we're going up from -1, 0, 1, 2, and 3 for those. Okay, next example then. So here is your double inequality for this one, and you'll notice that both dots are shaded in. So it's possible that x could be -3 or 4, or anywhere in between. And the integer values for this will be -3 all the way up to the number 4. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at solving inequalities now. So here is your first example. So pause your video and have a go. Okay, so when you're solving inequalities, it's essentially the same as solving an equation. It's exactly the same process. So here we've got 4x at 11. So that means 4 times x at 11 is less than 27. So we've just got to approach this as if an equal sign was there. So we take 11 away on both sides. So that will tell us that 4x is less than 16. Then we've just got to divide by 4. And that will tell us that x is less than 4. Okay, here's our next one. So first thing to do here is to expand that bracket. So we're doing 3 times x, which is 3x, and then 3 times 1, which is 3. Then we've got to approach it a bit like the previous question. So we've got to take 3 away from both sides. That will tell us that 3x is less than 21. Divide that by 3. That will tell us that x is less than 7. If you want to do a little check on this, you could do your brackets. So 7 add 1 is 8, and then 3 times 8, because that means 3 lots of whatever's in the brackets, does give us 24. Obviously, it's not equal to, though, it's less than, because it's an inequality. Okay, final example here then. So always remember, when you've got an unknown on both sides, try and deal with that unknown first. So the lowest value for x we've got is 3x here. So if we take that off both sides, that will leave us with 2x add 6 on the left and just 15 on the right hand side. Then we've got to take away 6 from both sides. That will tell us that 2x is less than 9. So then we've got to divide by 2, which you can write in a number of ways, but here are 2 of them. You can write x is less than 4.5, or you can write it as a fraction, 9/2. You could even write it as 4.5 if you wanted to as well. And that's our final example for this video. So thank you very much for listening. Please hit subscribe, and there'll be loads more videos on the GCSE Maths Foundation topics coming your way.